Hey y'all, I'm here with Jumpsuit Pablo, and I'm so excited. I just recently came across his TikTok platform and then his YouTube platform, and he's doing big things. He's formerly incarcerated. So I'm excited to talk to him. I want to touch on a few subjects about how men's prisons differ from women's prisons. Jumpsuit Pablo, thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So jumpsuit, do I say jumpsuit or should I say
Yeah, the jumpsuit's
okay?
fine. Yeah.
Okay, right on. So jumpsuit, in women's prisons, and especially in Texas, gangs are not a thing. They're just not. And so I'm really curious. You said 9 years,
Yeah.
and what state are you in?
I'm in South Carolina.
And you did your time in South Carolina.
Yeah, yeah, several prisons across South Carolina.
Okay. Okay. Well, what was the gang life like there? Were gangs prominent?
Absolutely. It's nothing but gangs, really. And if you're not in a gang, you got some type of ties, whether it's business or just prison politics. You're linked into a gang somehow. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's very present and it's very organized. Definitely, your classic prison hierarchy in there. There's really three main gangs. If you'd like me to go into that now, or
Yeah, go
um,
for it. We
you
want to
know,
know.
so I know when you probably think of South Carolina, you probably imagine there's a lot of race-based gangs, but there's really not. There's none in there, and it's very rare if you see someone like AB or any supremacy gang like that. Very rare you see that come through, and if you do, they're not going to be very outspoken about it because, I mean, that's probably a time you'll see all the gangs that are actually there come together and go against that one guy. So, but the gangs that are there, it's really just your Bloods, your Crips, and your gangster disciples. So it's just those three. And of course you have like, the religion, Muslim, and they stick together and a few groups like that. But yeah, there's really no race-based gangs. It's just Bloods, Crips, and gangster disciples mainly.
If you're a young man going into prison in South Carolina and you don't want to get affiliated, you're trying to kind of stay out of that mix. How do you protect yourself in there?
Well, you definitely have the option not to get involved in that. I guess some places it may be this way, and you kind of think when you go to prison, you get pressured to join a gang, or you kind of have to join a gang. Um, that's not really how they do it here. They don't want anyone to be in their gang who's not wanting to be, and someone who feels like I need to join for protection or something. They absolutely don't want anyone like that. They take pride in their gangs and they pride themselves on the fact that every member is supposed to be there because they don't need protection. They can stand by themselves, stand alone. That may sound a little ironic, but they want to know that if you're ever by yourself in some area against, a large group of a rival gang, that you're not gonna embarrass them, embarrass what you stand for and represent, and you're gonna hold your own. So you don't have to get involved in that. Now, as if you're not going to, your time is going to be a little more difficult. But how difficult it I think really just more comes down to the person and what situations you get yourself into, how you conduct yourself. So that can really vary. You got people who are just blind to good decisions and, get them to just always seem to get themselves wrapped up in nonsense. But if you truly want to go in there and just stay out of that, you definitely can. And there's plenty of people who do.
That's not the answer I was expecting, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
So,
they don't, these gangs, like I said, I know it's different, and in my experience isn't going to be every guy's experience in prison wherever they were at, but there's also kind of just a view in there, like you don't just go around preying on the weak, and I know some places it's the opposite, um, but it's just kind of a bad look if you only go around picking on the weak. If you want to do that, go pick on somebody strong and show, how strong you are. Just like the stealing, they don't like any stealing. If you're going to steal, don't steal, take. If you're going to like be all sneaky and stuff, well, that's seen as weak. No, just go take it. So just little things like that. So yeah, they're not just harassing people who aren't affiliated and stuff, but people definitely can get themselves into just situations, and when they do, there's going to be a lot less mercy and a lot less protection there, and your treatment isn't going to be as much as it would if you were a part of a well-respected gang.
While I was doing time, it was kind of common for us to talk about, well, the men stick together for this. The men have more because they stick together. The men get this because they stick together. And I mean, against the establishment. And in women's prisons, there was maybe just a small handful of times that we actually came together and said, we're not doing that. Can you tell me, do you guys stick together when the officers come in with some crazy notion that is not right and is against the rules?
Um, yeah, in that scenario, when you absolutely know that, right is right and wrong is wrong, and there's always going to be a little give and take on both sides, and but when it's if they're just absolutely oppressing you and doing wrong, then yeah, you'll definitely see them come together. I think it really depends also on what prison yard and just the environment there. I mean, some are just more like that than others, and if there's a more privileged yard, then people are going to be a little reluctant to really stand for something that might result in them getting their little privileges took away. And that's just how it is some places, and you might not have a group of people who are really have that kind of mindset, but when you do, yeah, they can definitely come together, and they can really influence some things and make some things happen. So yeah, it depends on where you're at, but yeah, it can definitely go that way.
Okay. This seems like kind of a silly question after the things we've been talking about, but women, we get very petty disciplinary cases. And I think it's because there's maybe not the violence that happens, or maybe not drugs and cell phones and those kind of things aren't as prominent in women's prisons. And so they have to find small things to, and I'll just give you an example. I went to solitary confinement for 34 days for hugging the top of an older lady's shoulders. She was crying.
Mm.
And so for touching her, they came in, handcuffed me, marched me out. I mean, it just the whole thing. And so can you just tell me, like, what is the pettiest disciplinary case that you've ever seen anybody get, and then what's like the worst disciplinary case?
It's hard to say because I think there's this dynamic in these prisons where, like you said, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of serious things that can happen that are, these are disciplinaries. It kind of comes down to, as long as you're not putting holes in each other and killing each other, we're gonna they know smoking's happening, they know people are drinking on the common area, drinking wine, they know people are gambling at the poker table, they know this is going on, and they're not going to bother you because, hey, listen, we'd rather you be doing that than killing each other, or having these riots and stuff, and that's usually how it goes. So they're not gonna, unless you're on, like, one of the low minimum security camps where everyone's glad to be there, so we can enforce tucking your shirt in, even something just that simple, because nobody wants to get in trouble and risk getting kicked off that yard. But most of these prisons, yeah, they're not going to really try to enforce that unless we want to technically find a way to send you to solitary, because you're being a problem in other ways that we can't, that when maybe we don't have it in black and white or on camera, or just the buzz going around, we know you're causing problems or something, or you know uh, just little stuff like that, then yeah, they'll on little technical things, they may press the issue just to get you out of there, or do something to you, but it's usually for a bigger reason, if that makes sense. One of the pettiest things, and I don't think it's petty as in what they did is petty. I think it's a petty thing for an inmate to get himself in trouble for. But the exposure, exposing themselves to the women staff, just doing that, making a game out of it. Can I get away with it? Can I do this? And them not telling me because they get a thrill. I guess that's how they get their
Mhm.
thrill. A lot of these inmates, from knowing that they were able to do that. and that if they feel like if the woman doesn't tell on them, then that's their validation, you know. So a lot of guys just do it, and might have had everything, might have been living large, making all the money, had all the drugs, all the cell phones, had all the power in the dorm, and just for something as dumb as that on their end, get sent to solitary or something. Yeah, that's pretty petty on their end, I think.
I don't know why I never thought about that.
Yeah,
We go through a transfer unit, um, that's a men's unit, and they stopped that a couple years ago, but when I was doing time, and it was insane. That was insane. So I don't know why that never, even occurred to
yeah,
me. So
yeah.
goodness, I think I lost my train of thought with that. I had a final question for you. Well, I'll just ask you what you asked me.
Okay.
I'll just throw it right back at you. Your
Yeah.
final question, which is what is important to you that people know about doing time as a man in South Carolina?
I think I would say, and I think it's kind of on par with your answer. I would say there are a lot of guys who I've personally seen who, they committed their crime, they're back there, and they never stop doing crime, while they're back there, and they get out and they immediately go and do more crime. And I've seen so many people do 10, 15, 20 years and get out, and within 6 months, they're right back. So I understand on one side of it, that view of an inmate, but there's so many guys who they made a mistake when they were 17, 18, and these guys are late 30s now, or they've been in there 22 years, and they truly are not, think about the person you were when you were 17, 18, 19, and then the person you are today, 30, 40, 45, and it's so like you're still there, but you're not the same person. But it follows you because that's what you went to prison for. And I think a lot of people look at you and just always see, like I went for armed robberies, and they always are going to say, you're a criminal, you're an armed robber. I still get comments on my YouTube saying, why am I listening to you? You're a criminal. Even though I did my crime over 10 years ago, and I did my time, and I'm out here trying to do something better. There's a lot of guys, they would love the chance to get out, and they may never get out. They would love the chance to get out and do something better. So there are inmates who can turn it around. There are inmates who truly regret what they did. They're sorry, and they're ready to do their time and come home and change their life. So I would just say, give people a chance. Who have been to prison, and not all of them are bad.
Excellent. Those are some beautiful final thoughts. I really, really appreciate you visiting with me and taking
Yeah.
time out of your day to give us some insight into a men's prison in South
Mhm.
Carolina. And are you the same handle across the board?
Yeah.
Because
Everywhere's jumps at jumpsuit Pablo, all one word.
perfect, perfect. All right. I'm excited that I found you. Well, I one of my people tagged me on one of your
Right.
videos and I had not seen your platform yet. And I was so excited. And I've been diving into some of your videos. Great entertainer, very fun, awesome content on YouTube. So I appreciate that. And we
Thank
will
you.
talk to you soon.